Okay, good afternoon. What I'd like to talk about is, within the context of teaching transferable skills to the postgraduate researcher or PhD population, looking at a particular instance or a particular challenge that we took on over the course of the last couple of years. My name is Martin Coffey. I provide postgraduate career support for research students in the Leicester Learning Institute, and joining me today is Manisha Devi, who is one of our PhDs, a real student. She's not on tape, she's not on video, she's in person, from the MRC Toxicology Unit. Now, in talking about the particular example, Manisha is going to do two things. One is give a demonstration of skills acquired, and the second one is talk through, from her perspective and from her colleagues' perspective, what it is they actually learned as a result of this process. So, postgraduate researchers. One of the things, the reason I've got notes in front of me, I was trying to do the professional exemplary thing and not have notes, is I've been scribbling stuff all morning based on the sessions I've been sitting in and looking at the overlaps between our experience and experience with undergraduates and master students, specific or otherwise. In terms of careers, we tend to divide our postgraduate population into four groups. That is people who've gone straight through the education system, which I'll liberally call newbies. Those who are career enhancers, that is people who are coming to do a PhD to develop their career further, often overseas students for whom a British PhD carries a high value within their context. Career changers, who are adding some value for whatever reason as part of their move. And the group we call passionates, those who are doing a PhD for the love of it. Now, in terms of need of support, to my mind that goes from high to low. The group needing the most support being the newbies, if that's not an inappropriate term. Anybody seen the film Nanny McPhee? Yeah? So you're familiar with the expression, when you need me but don't want me, I must be here. When you want me but don't need me, then I must go. Well, that's what career provision for PGRs is like when we look at that particular group. Reflecting back on what was said just a few minutes ago and the question you asked, it's the same phenomenon around not really appreciating the need for career support. So if we think about the reasons why somebody does a PhD, they do it as part of, traditionally, it's a training for an academic career or a career in research, especially if you're in the biological field. I mean, to cut it down, that's largely what it is. Then the realization came that there's a bit more to it than that. There's a need to develop some career skills, and around 2002 Gareth Roberts produced his work on Set for Success, developing the career skills of the PhD population throughout the UK. But there seems to me to be a series of obstacles that we face in implementing that. Now, I should be very grateful for that because I got a job out of it. And a number of other people in other universities around the country got jobs out of it too. But the biggest challenge we face is a bottleneck. Is moving from the number of people who want a career in academia and are therefore doing a PhD, or a career in research, because the research opportunities, particularly in biological sciences, have diminished over the last few years, and the number of available spaces. So in order to address that bottleneck and to make our PhDs as competitive in that job market as possible, there is a need to increase their skills. Can I use another clumsy word? Upskill. So the context. The range of skills that we try to deliver are academic specific thinking skills such as critical thinking, handling information, numeracy. All of these PhDs understand instantly. They can instantly apply to their current situation, no problem. My colleagues may disagree with that, but I think there's no problem. However, when it comes to things like developing the CV, developing your career management, that's where the Nanny McPhee principle comes into play. When it's not right in my face as a PhD student, I don't really understand why I might need it. So I started to think about, okay, if you look around, if you look through, there's a wonderful organisation called Vitae who provides support for the training of PhDs. If you look at what's provided, and if you look at what colleagues across the country, different universities are doing, there's a tendency to look at, you're in University X, what are you doing that's good? Okay, is that really transferring skills? So I guess what I'm talking about is we started to think about, are there skills from other contexts that we can apply to the preparation of PhD? The first context I thought of was sports coaching, because there's skills there around, you prepare somebody, you give them a set of skills to go out, when they step on the court or step on the field, they then have to face what's in front of them. You can't teach them the specifics. So the particular challenge that I'm talking about today is something called a youth enterprise scheme. Now that sounds like something you did when you were in school, some sort of employability thing for teenagers who probably don't want to be there either. But a youth enterprise scheme, in this context, is an inter-university competition where each university develops teams of their students, PhD students, and okay, the first few years we approached this as a university, we were very honest, and we took it as a competition. The first 2 years we did this, so you go along, you develop skills over a workshop that lasts 3 days, whatever comes out at the end, you compete with others. The competing at the end is, so how many people have seen Dragon's Den? Yeah, most people? It's that sort of format. This is my idea, this is my route to market, this is my business plan, this is why people want to buy it, and away you go. Please give me X amount of money and I'll give you this much out of my business. Essentially, what we're asking people to do is to develop a business idea, to develop a route to market, to develop all of those business skills that Manish will talk about in a moment. That was the challenge broadly. Now, I'm going to do the clip bit now. Seems to be quite popular today, where some of the judges from the final of the 2014 Biotechnology Yes talk about the competition, one aspect of it, and one of the skills involved, which is delivering an elevator pitch.
We started off with nearly 500 researchers from across the country, competing in 6 regional workshops, and then from those workshops we ended up with 15 finalists, and they're going to come along and they've got 1 minute to present their business idea, and they've got to try and convince the judges that their business idea is worthy of investment. They're also going to be asked a killer question where the judges are going to try and trip them up and test their knowledge and see how they can think on their feet. So the group that survives that without losing a run is going to win the Shark's Tank.
It was very interesting indeed to see the way each of them came at it. Some came across almost as a 1 minute advert, others came across as a real 1 minute investment proposition. I was extraordinarily impressed by the standard and the quality of them.
Well, we say every year that the levels got higher, but this year that they were exceptional.
One thing I think we saw was a great teamwork, real interchange between members of teams that are up on the platform. That was very exciting. Some very thoughtful ideas came through as well. So overall, really impressive.
Any one of them could have taken away the prize. They were all really excellent.
The highlights of today were the diversity of the ideas and the way they made them actually real. And they're all based on cutting edge science, and they're all being used to make the world a better place.
Okay, so that is the description of the elevator pitch in that context. So Manish is now going to demonstrate the elevator pitch that I've used.
Headaches, insomnia, anxiety, problems all caused by caffeine, but the world loves coffee. The £51 billion a year market is growing and customers are becoming more concerned about their health. But decaf is not the answer. It's artificial and has an altered taste. I'm Manisha, Operations Director at Sensor Seeds. Our product Noka is the world's first naturally uncaffeinated coffee, and today I'm offering you 40% equity for a £2.5 million investment. Noka has been trialled in coffee shops and online with phenomenal success. Our next step is to move and upscale our seed production from the UK to Brazil, and we project Sensor Seeds to be worth over £47 million by 2018, giving you a 7.5 times return upon a trade sale. Decaf is dead. Join the uncapped revolution, a market worth billions.
Okay, I deliberately didn't tell you what it was, so now you get a questionnaire on what was the product? Uncaffeinated coffee. Why should you buy it? Or why should you get involved? Business opportunity. So essentially, what we did in terms of developing skills, I should also say that One of the people earlier mentioned there were 500 participants. That breaks down to about 100 teams. University of Leicester had one team. Of that 100 teams, Manisha and her colleagues won the national competition. As part of their prize, they get to go and compete. They got to go and compete in something called a Rice Business Plan competition in the United States. That's where real money gets doled out to real businesses. Manisha and her colleagues had a fantasy business. It wasn't real. But they had to keep reiterating that this isn't real. So much so that Manisha did her elevator pitch amongst a group of 42 international competitors and came 7th, which I thought was pretty good, especially as the thing wasn't real. As far as I know, she's told me that well, there was probably money going for coming 7th. She didn't take it. I don't know. So what approach do we take? As I said, we started out very honestly. We put people in for competition, see how it goes. But eventually we learned that the smart teams were preparing in advance, so you actually have to upskill people before they go. Fair enough. The approach was largely about, if you're the paper this morning by Martha and Alex about staff-student partnerships, we didn't brand it as that, but that was essentially what we did. The ideas are stolen from, if you want to reference, O'Connell 2004 Solution-Focused Therapy. It's taking a skill set from a completely different area and applying it to the training of postgraduate researchers in employability skills. We took 5 basic principles. The first one was ask questions rather than sell answers. One of the things I've noticed in delivering transferable skills to postgraduate researchers, I'm slightly nervous today because I usually don't talk to groups that are this big, is the diversity of the group. Okay? If somebody over there who already knows more about the topic than I do, maybe, depending on what the topic is. If somebody over there for whom the topic isn't completely new. If somebody else for whom the topic is new, or they may know a lot, but for whom English is their second language. So there's a range of challenges in there. And one of the fundamental challenges in terms of delivering training is pitching the content at a level that's appropriate for the entire group, because the group is so diverse. I think in secondary education they call it differentiation, where you work across your different populations. So the approach here changed a bit from that and was about building on what people already knew. It was about listening for student strengths and building on those. I know there are several people in the room who are big into educational development. The Trigwell and Prosser model of conceptual change, student focus. So you build on what the student already knows rather than try to tell them stuff. And it's like teaching granny to suck eggs. What's the point if they already know it? So it's about building on people's capabilities. It's about working with what people can do and their relevant experience rather than highlighting what they can't do. And if you take a few teams of 5 people from our PGR population, the skill range can be quite large. The capabilities can be quite diverse. And this, for me, was the key one. It was about focusing on details of the solution. I know there's a lot in education, particularly in the medical field, around problem-based learning, but here we focused on a solution. So as Manisha described it, it was all about, hang on, we've got something here which can help people's lives. It's about a solution rather than problematizing it. And, okay, there's so much your teams will know, but it's also about sourcing expert input as and when required. And okay, the expert input came in things like people with financial expertise that we drew on board, people with business planning expertise, maybe people with product expertise or IP, intellectual property expertise. But the most important input came from fellow PGRs who had competed previously in this competition and were able to give an insight into what is required and how it's done that I couldn't possibly give because I haven't competed in it. And fundamentally, the skills, I'm referring back again to some of the things that were talked about this morning, in developing their ideas, students took it away, and in fact we're now in the process for a new group for next year have taken away the initial briefing and are coming up with their idea. So if it's a staff-student partnership, it's very much student-led. I see my role as supporting that. So that requires a group of 5 people who may or may not already know each other to exercise quite a bit of communication skills, organisation skills and leadership skills. And I'll now leave it to Manisha to describe the skills from her colleagues' perspectives.
Thank you, Martin. So from the Biotechnology Yes competition, I learned a great deal about the business world, from marketing and IP to finance, and I mentioned intellectual property protection. So our training really began before the competition, which was really important. It happened here in Leicester with the help from Martin. So Martin organised a series of training events, and the first one of these was team building, and also some presentation from the previous participants. And this really helped us to outline what the problem was and how to tackle it, but also for us to identify what our individual strengths were, which in turn helped us to identify what our roles would be in our team. And I believe that this was really key to our success. But in addition to all of this training, Martin also organised some specialised training. So this was intellectual property protection and the finances and the elevator pitch. And this really helped us to focus and organise the way in which we were going to tackle the problem. So from all of this, we were really able to build on our existing transferable skills and make them better. And this has really helped all of us, I would say, in our everyday PhD work, which has been fantastic. So overall, I would say that I've had a fantastic experience in this competition and can't advocate enough taking part in it. So I really encourage you to all support your PhD students and postdocs to take part in the YES competitions. Thank you.
That's it from us.